The sun rose majestically over the verdant hills of Aleph Kingdom, casting golden hues over the sprawling palace of King Obadiah. The king, despite his wealth and power, bore the weight of sorrow in his heart. 4 years, whispers haunted the walls of the palace. An infertile king cannot hold the throne for long. His first wife, Queen Kem, had departed after years of childless union, leaving him with nothing but a shattered heart and a kingdom on the brink of despair. But fate, as unpredictable as the Harmattan winds, was about to change everything. In the small, serene village of Umudim, Adaobi, a radiant maiden known for her beauty and kind heart, drew the admiration of many. Yet, she remained humble, dedicating her life to tending her aging parents and helping her community. Her laughter was like the gentle ripple of a stream, and her eyes sparkled like the evening stars. One fateful day, King Obadiah visited Umudim under the guise of a common man. He sought solace away from the palace and the burdens of his crown. Walking through the marketplace, he spotted Adaobi. Her presence was magnetic, and her laughter echoed in his ears like a melody he could not ignore. Their first meeting was accidental. Adaobi, balancing a clay pot of water on her head, stumbled and nearly fell, but the king, quick as the wind, caught her. Their eyes met, and in that moment, something unspoken passed between them. "Thank you," Adaobi murmured, her cheeks flushed. "It is my pleasure," Obadiah replied, his voice deep and soothing. Over the weeks, their paths crossed frequently. Obadiah, enchanted by her simplicity and wisdom, began to court her. He revealed his true identity, and though shocked, Adaobi saw the man behind the crown, a man yearning for love and companionship. Their love blossomed, much to the dismay of some palace elders who doubted Adaobi's ability to bear the king an heir. "She is a commoner," they protested. But Obadiah stood firm. "I love her, and that is enough." The wedding was a grand affair, uniting the royal household with the humble villagers of Umudim. The people whispered prayers that Adaobi might bring joy to their king's life. Months passed, and the kingdom held its breath. Then came the news that changed everything. Adaobi was pregnant. The palace was abuzz with excitement and skepticism. Many doubted the legitimacy of the pregnancy, but Adaobi, with her calm demeanor, silenced their doubts. On a rainy night, with thunder rumbling in the heavens, Adaobi went into labor. The cries of new life filled the palace as not one, but 2 baby boys were born. Twins. The king's joy knew no bounds as he held his sons, tears streaming down his face. "This is the work of the gods," he whispered. The kingdom erupted in celebration. The twins, named Chibuzo and Chinonso, were hailed as miracles. Adaobi's humility and strength endeared her to the people, and she became known as the people's queen. Yet, as peace settled over the kingdom, shadows loomed. Queen Kem returned, claiming the twins were not Obadiah's sons. She stirred discord among the elders, demanding a council be held to test their lineage. Obadiah, though angered, agreed to the test to silence the doubters. The result was indisputable: the twins were his blood. Nkem, shamed and humiliated, left the kingdom for good. Adaobi's name was etched in the annals of Aleph's history as the queen who brought hope to a desolate king and a dying kingdom. And as the years passed, her sons grew to be wise and strong, ensuring that the legacy of King Obadiah lived on. The days that followed the birth of the twins were filled with both joy and tension. King Obadiah could hardly contain his pride as he gazed upon his sons, their small hands grasping his fingers with the strength of a future ruler. Adaobi, too, radiated joy, though her heart was heavy with the responsibility of being the mother of 2 heirs to the throne. She often found herself contemplating the weight of what had been bestowed upon her family, what it meant for the future of the kingdom, and for her own place in history. The twins, Chibuzo and Chinonso, grew quickly under the watchful eyes of their parents and the elders of the palace. Each day was a new adventure, a new discovery. Chibuzo was calm, observant, often spending hours staring at the skies as though he could see into the heavens. Chinonso, on the other hand, was bold and mischievous, constantly getting into trouble and testing the patience of everyone around him. Yet, they were inseparable, 2 halves of the same soul, destined to rule together. As the twins grew, so did their awareness of the kingdom's needs. Obadiah, though grateful for the miracle Adaobi had brought into his life, could not escape the looming shadow of uncertainty. While the birth of the heirs had solidified his position as king in the eyes of the people, not everyone was content. Among the many who had once celebrated the birth of the twins, there were murmurs, quiet voices that wondered if Obadiah's second wife was truly worthy of the throne, or if she was simply a tool for producing heirs. Some of the elders, old men who had served in the king's court long before Obadiah's reign, whispered in private. "The queen is a commoner," one would say. "Her blood does not run royal," another would counter. "The twins are but the fruits of the earth. Their legitimacy will always be questioned," one elder remarked, his voice thick with the weight of history. These whispers reached the ears of Queen Kem, the king's first wife. Her return had been sudden and unexpected. She had left the palace years ago, bitter and heartbroken at the inability of her marriage to produce heirs. Yet, her departure had never meant an end to her ambition. She returned with the confidence of a woman who knew she had been wronged. Adeobi's pregnancy had shaken her, but it was the twins' birth that incited her wrath. With the same fire that had driven her to demand the throne once, she returned to lay claim to her past position. Queen Kem arrived at the palace like a storm, her presence as fierce as it was commanding. Her eyes, dark with the memories of their past, narrowed when she saw Adeobi standing by her husband's side, holding the twins in her arms. She had no words for the new queen at first, only a cold stare that conveyed more than words could. The once beloved queen had now become the king's rival, a bitter memory of what had been, but never could be again. "My husband," Queen Kem greeted, her voice smooth as silk, yet laced with steel, "I have come to reclaim what was always mine." King Obadiah did not falter. "You left me, Nkem. You left me when I needed you the most. This is my family now, and I have moved on." His voice was steady, but there was a shadow of pain in his eyes. Adeobi, ever calm, remained silent as the storm of words brewed between the two queens. But in her silence was strength. She had faced far more difficult trials in her life, and she would not be shaken now. Nkem, undeterred, demanded a counsel. She argued that the twins' legitimacy must be tested. "How can we be sure they are truly the king's blood? How can we be sure that this girl," she spat the word with venom, "did not use witchcraft to deceive him?" The kingdom was divided. Some elders stood with Nkem, while others pledged their allegiance to Obadiah and his new queen. The palace grounds became a battleground of politics and tradition. It was in this moment of uncertainty that Adeobi felt the full weight of her love for the king. She had not only brought him joy but had become the center of a political war that threatened to tear their kingdom apart. The council was convened, and the elders gathered in the grand hall. The air was thick with tension. Nkem, dressed in the royal regalia, stood at the head of the room, her posture rigid, while Adeobi stood beside her husband, the twins in her arms. Obadiah was resolute, his gaze unwavering. The test, a traditional bloodline examination, was to be conducted by the royal priestess, an old woman who had long served the kingdom and whose words were regarded as truth. The entire kingdom watched as the priestess examined the blood of the twins, offering silent prayers to the gods. The air in the hall was so thick with anticipation that it felt as though time itself had come to a halt. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the priestess spoke. "The twins are the king's sons, his blood flows in their veins. No force of nature can change that truth." A heavy silence fell over the room. Queen Kem, defeated, stared at the twins with hatred, her eyes burning with unspoken resentment. She knew she could never challenge their legitimacy again. The twins, and Adeobi, had won. Nkem turned on her heels, her royal pride in tatters, and left the kingdom once more. But this time, it was not a departure filled with the bitterness of the past. She had been vanquished, her claim to the throne destroyed by the truth of Adeobi's love and the strength of her sons. The kingdom rejoiced in victory, but it was a quiet, bittersweet celebration for Adeobi. The trials were far from over. She had won the battle, but the war to ensure her son's rightful place was just beginning. And so, life in the kingdom of Aleph continued. The twins grew stronger, wiser, and more capable with each passing day. Their future as leaders of the kingdom became more certain. Under the guidance of their mother, Adeobi, and their father, King Obadiah, they began to understand the power of the throne, the weight of the crown, and the responsibility that came with it. But even as they prepared for their ascension, there were darker forces at play, forces that would test the strength of their bond, their loyalty to the throne, and the very foundations of the kingdom itself. For in the shadows of every great kingdom lies a power struggle, and in the heart of every king, there is the constant battle between legacy and the future. As peace settled over Aleph Kingdom, Adaobi and King Obadiah focused their efforts on raising their sons to be noble, wise, and compassionate leaders. The twins, Chibuzo and Chinonso, were adored by the people, and their distinct personalities brought balance to the royal household. But while harmony reigned within the palace walls, danger lurked in the shadows. A faction of disgruntled nobles, emboldened by Queen Kem's failed attempt to discredit the twins, began to conspire against the royal family. These elders, led by the cunning and power-hungry chief Eziokik, sought to destabilize the kingdom and claim the throne for themselves. Chief Eziokik, a man of sharp wit and dangerous ambition, began sowing seeds of doubt among the people. He spread rumors that the twins were cursed and that their reign would bring misfortune to the kingdom. Two kings cannot rule a single throne, he would whisper in secret gatherings. The gods did not intend for twins to inherit power equally. These whispers began to take root among some of the more superstitious villagers. They feared that the twins' shared destiny would lead to conflict, and the kingdom might be plunged into chaos. Despite the growing unease, King Obadiah remained steadfast. He trusted in the strength of his sons and the wisdom of his beloved Adaobi. One fateful evening, as the family dined in the grand hall, a messenger arrived in haste, his face pale with fear. "Your Majesty, forgive the intrusion, but there is unrest in the southern provinces. The villagers refuse to pay their taxes, claiming the gods demand a new king." King Obadiah's brow furrowed. "Who leads?" The messenger hesitated. "Chief Eziokik, my king. He has declared that the twins' birth has brought a curse upon the land." The king's face darkened. Adaobi, ever calm, placed a hand on his arm. "This is not the time for anger, my king," she said softly. "We must approach this with wisdom and caution." Obadiah nodded, his respect for Adaobi's counsel evident in his eyes. "Gather the council," he ordered. "We must put an end to this rebellion before it spreads." That night, the royal family gathered in the council chamber with their most trusted advisors. The debate was heated. Some argued for swift military action, while others urged diplomacy. It was Adaobi who proposed a plan that combined both. "Let us send an envoy to Chief Eziokik," she suggested. "We will offer him the chance to explain his grievances before the council. If he refuses, we will have no choice but to act decisively." The council agreed, and a delegation was sent to the southern provinces. Days turned into weeks, and tension gripped the kingdom as they awaited Eziokik's response. Meanwhile, Adaobi took it upon herself to strengthen the bond between the twins and the people. She organized community feasts, visited villages, and shared stories of the twins' bravery and intelligence, dispelling the fears that Eziokik had spread. Finally, a response arrived. Chief Eziokik had agreed to meet with the council, but his intentions were far from peaceful. Unknown to the king and queen, Eziokik had devised a plot to overthrow the royal family during the meeting. On the day of the council gathering, the grand hall was filled with tension. Eziokik arrived with a retinue of armed men, their presence a clear sign of his defiance. The council convened, and Eziokik, with a mocking smile, addressed the king. "My king," he said, his tone dripping with false respect, "I have come to speak on behalf of the people. They believe that the birth of twins is an abomination, a sign that the gods are displeased with your rule." Before the king could respond, Adaobi rose to her feet, her voice calm but commanding. "And who are you, Chief Eziokik, to interpret the will of the gods? The gods blessed us with these sons, and the kingdom has prospered under their presence." Eziokik's smile faltered, but he quickly recovered. "If that is true, let the gods decide. I propose a test, a trial of divine favor. If the twins are truly destined to rule, let them prove their worth before the kingdom." The council erupted in debate, but Adaobi, sensing the danger in Eziokik's words, stepped forward. "We accept your challenge," she declared, her voice unwavering. King Obadiah looked at her in shock. "Adaobi, She placed a hand on his arm, silencing him. Our sons were born of the gods' will. Let this test prove their strength and unity. The trial, a series of ancient challenges designed to test leadership, courage, and wisdom, was set to take place in the sacred forest of Nkemketa. The twins, though young, embraced the challenge with determination. They were guided by their parents' unwavering faith and the love of the people who had come to see them as symbols of hope. As the trials began, it became clear that Eziokik had not planned for the resilience and unity of the twins. They worked together seamlessly, combining Chibuzo's strategic mind with Chinonso's boldness. Each challenge brought them closer, their bond unbreakable. When the final challenge, a test of sacrifice, arrived, the twins faced their greatest trial yet. They were asked to choose between saving their own lives or protecting the kingdom's sacred relic. Without hesitation, they chose the relic, proving their dedication to the throne. The gods, moved by their selflessness, sent a sign, a golden eagle that soared above the sacred forest, its cry echoing across the land. The people, witnessing this divine favor, erupted in cheers. Eziokik, defeated and exposed as a traitor, was brought before the council. His punishment was swift and severe, ensuring that no such plan would threaten the kingdom again. The trials solidified the twins' place as rightful heirs and strengthened the kingdom's faith in King Obadiah and Queen Adaobi. The family returned to the palace, their bond stronger than ever. As the sun set over Aleph Kingdom, casting golden hues over the palace, Adaobi held her sons close, her heart filled with pride. "You are the future of this kingdom," she whispered. "Always remember the strength that comes from unity and love." And so, the royal family continued to rule with wisdom and compassion, their legacy etched in the hearts of their people and the annals of history. The sun had long set, and the palace glowed with the warmth of oil lamps and the flicker of torches as the people celebrated the triumph of their young princes. Drummers played rhythmic beats that echoed into the night, dancers leapt with joyous abandon, and the air was thick with the aroma of roasted yams and spiced meats. The kingdom of Aleph had found renewed hope, and its people basked in the unity their royal family had restored. Yet, even in the midst of celebration, Adaobi's heart remained vigilant. She had learned through her trials that peace was fragile, and the loyalty of a kingdom could waver. She spent the evening beside her husband, her eyes scanning the crowd for shadows of dissent. "Your thoughts are far from here, Adaobi," Obadiah said, his voice soft as he placed a hand over hers. She turned to him, her face calm but serious. "The peace we have now is precious, my king. But there are those who would see it undone. We must remain watchful." Obadiah nodded, his respect for her wisdom unwavering. "You are right, my queen. We must prepare for what lies ahead." The months that followed were a time of great change for Aleph. The kingdom entered a golden age of prosperity, with trade flourishing and alliances strengthening under King Obadiah's rule. Adaobi's influence as queen grew as she championed education for the villagers, especially the young girls, teaching them skills that would empower them to contribute to their communities. The twins, Chibuzo and Chinonso, were groomed for leadership, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. They became inseparable not only as brothers but also as partners in ruling, learning from their parents and the trusted elders of the court. However, the threat of rebellion was never far away. Chief Eziokik's failed coup had left a void in the power structure, and whispers of unrest reached the palace. A new figure emerged from the shadows, a warrior named Nwashanemelu, who had once been a loyal soldier in the king's army. Nwashanemelu had grown disillusioned, believing that the monarchy favored the elites and ignored the struggles of the common people. He began rallying those who felt overlooked, promising them a new order where the throne would no longer dictate their lives. His followers grew in number, and soon his voice became a dangerous roar that could not be ignored. One evening, as the royal family dined in the palace courtyard under the soft glow of lanterns, a scout arrived with grim news. "Your Majesty," he said, bowing deeply, "Nwashanemelu and his forces have seized the eastern province. They are calling for the dissolution of the monarchy." The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Obadiah rose to his feet, his expression fierce. "This insolence cannot be tolerated. Gather the generals. We must act swiftly." Adeobi placed a calming hand on his arm. Wait, my king. Let us not rush into war. Nwashanemelu's anger stems from the people's pain. If we can address their grievances, we may yet avoid bloodshed. Obadiah hesitated, his gaze softening as he looked at his wife. What do you suggest, Adeobi? Let me speak with him, she said. I will go to the eastern province and meet Nwashanemelu face to face. If there is a chance to bring him back to the fold, I must take it. The king's face was a mask of conflict. You would risk your life for this. For our kingdom, I would risk everything, she replied. Adeobi's journey to the eastern province was fraught with danger. Accompanied by a small entourage of loyal guards, she traveled through dense forests and treacherous terrain to reach Nwashanemelu's stronghold. Along the way, she saw the struggles of the people, fields left untended, villages abandoned, families torn apart by fear and uncertainty. When she finally arrived, she was brought before Nwashanemelu, a towering figure with piercing eyes that seemed to see through her. His camp was a mix of warriors and desperate villagers, all looking to him for guidance. You are brave to come here, Queen Adeobi, Nwashanemelu said, his tone cold but curious. But bravery will not save your throne. I did not come to save the throne, she replied, her voice steady. I came to save the kingdom. Tell me, Nwashanemelu, what do you truly want? For a moment, his hardened expression softened. I want justice. I want a kingdom where the people are not slaves to the whims of the palace. Adeobi stepped closer, her gaze unwavering. And do you think destroying the monarchy will bring justice? The throne is not the enemy, Nwashanemelu. The enemy is division. Let us work together to rebuild trust between the people and their leaders. Her words struck a chord, but Nwashanemelu was not easily swayed. How can I trust you, Adeobi? Words are cheap, and promises are often broken. Then test me, she said. Give me the chance to prove my sincerity. Let me bring relief to your people, and if I fail, you may do with me as you wish. Nwashanemelu studied her, the weight of her words sinking in. Finally, he nodded. Very well. You have 1 month to show me that change is possible. But if you fail, I will not hesitate to finish what I started. Adeobi returned to the palace with a renewed sense of purpose. With Obadiah's support, she implemented sweeping reforms to address the needs of the people. Resources were redirected to the eastern province, villages were rebuilt, and the voices of the commoners were brought to the royal council. Nwashanemelu watched with guarded optimism as the changes took effect. True to her word, Adeobi delivered on her promises, and the eastern province began to heal. Slowly but surely, trust was restored, and Nwashanemelu's followers began to see the monarchy not as an enemy but as a partner in progress. In the end, Nwashanemelu laid down his arms and pledged his loyalty to the throne. You have shown me that true leadership is not about power, but about service, he said to Adeobi. The kingdom of Alaif emerged stronger than ever, united under the wisdom of its queen and the courage of its king. The twins, inspired by their parents' sacrifices and resilience, grew into leaders who valued compassion as much as strength. As the years passed, Adeobi's legacy became a beacon of hope for future generations, a testament to the power of love, unity, and the unyielding spirit of a queen who had changed the course of history. As the years rolled by, the kingdom of Alaif flourished under the reign of King Obadiah and Queen Adeobi. The wounds of rebellion healed, and the people stood united, their trust in the royal family unshakable. The twins, Chibuzo and Chinonso, grew into fine young men, each embodying the virtues instilled in them by their parents. Chibuzo, the contemplative one, often spent hours in the palace library, poring over ancient texts and learning the strategies of past rulers. He became the kingdom's mind, a thinker who could navigate the complexities of diplomacy and governance. Chinonso, bold and fearless, became the kingdom's heart, a warrior prince who protected his people and led them into prosperity with courage and charisma. Together, they represented the perfect balance of intellect and strength. The people affectionately referred to the twins as Ugo-Nane, the eagle and the elephant. Their unity and complementary natures were celebrated across the land, and their bond became a symbol of what Alaif stood for, strength through unity. On a clear, starry night, A grand celebration was held in the palace to mark the twins' 18th birthday. The entire kingdom gathered in the courtyard, where a feast of epic proportions awaited. Lanterns hung from tall poles, their golden glow illuminating the joyous faces of the people. Drummers beat their instruments with unbridled energy, while dancers spun and leapt, their movements telling stories of bravery, love, and triumph. Adeobi, resplendent in her royal attire, stood beside Obadiah on the dais, their hands clasped as they watched their sons being crowned as co-heirs to the throne. The ceremony was a moment of pride for the royal couple, a culmination of years of trials and triumphs. As the twins knelt before their father, Obadiah placed golden coronets on their heads, his voice ringing with pride. "Today, I name you, Chibuzo and Chinonso, as the future kings of Aleph. You are the light of this kingdom, the guardians of its people, and the heirs to its legacy." The crowd erupted into cheers, their voices blending into a harmonious celebration of hope and unity. Chibuzo and Chinonso rose, turning to face the people with radiant smiles, their hearts filled with gratitude and determination. As the night deepened, Adeobi and Obadiah stole a quiet moment together, stepping away from the festivities to a secluded balcony overlooking the palace grounds. The cool breeze carried the laughter and music from the courtyard, a reminder of all they had fought for. Obadiah turned to his queen, his eyes filled with love and admiration. "Adeobi, when I found you in Umudim, I never imagined the strength and wisdom you would bring into my life. You are the reason our family stands united, the reason this kingdom thrives." Adeobi smiled, her eyes glistening with emotion. "And you, my king, are the pillar that holds us steady. Together, we have built something beautiful, something that will endure for generations." He took her hands in his, the warmth of his touch a comforting reminder of their bond. "You have not only given me heirs, Adeobi. You have given me a legacy. You have given me love." As they stood together, the moon casting its silver light over the land, the twins joined them on the balcony. Chibuzo and Chinonso, now crowned princes, wrapped their arms around their parents, a silent vow of unity and strength. The four of them gazed out at the kingdom, the lights of the villages twinkling like stars in the distance. In that moment, there was no fear, no doubt, only the enduring love of a family and the unbreakable bond of a people who had found hope in their unity. The kingdom of Aleph would forever remember this night as the beginning of a new era, an era of prosperity, love, and resilience. And as the first rays of dawn painted the sky with hues of gold and pink, the royal family stood together, a beacon of hope and strength for all.